So, yesterday I talked about the Act a Normal book, Contemporary Monologues by Mark Wheeler. Today, the companion book. Suggestion of my daughter. Once I told her that I was doing a book of monologues, she said, well, Dad, what you need to do is to produce a book of duologues as well, because we use that a lot in our teaching of young people. And you can do that on Zoom as well, very, very easily in two little windows. So here we are, contemporary duologues. And thanks so much to, as normal, George Spender from Salamander Street, who has agreed to publish these and get them out in massively quick time. So we've done these over the summer holidays. I've thoroughly enjoyed going through literally every one of my plays and more, as you'll hear. And I'm just going to talk about the ones that are less well known in Can't Believe I'm Saying This to My Mum. And that comes from, that's one of the lines from one of the scenes. I'll let you find out which that is. So the book kicks off, as does the other one, with Blackout Operation Pied Piper, my musical about the World War II evacuation, roughly the story of my mum. And Jean Eagle is the little girl who is evacuated to the country. She ends up getting on very well with the second family she lives with, but her mum dies during the war. And she's in a situation where her dad wants her to go home, but the family she's living with are very happy. They want to keep her there. And it's the scene where Tom and Anne, her kind of foster parents, her billets, they're called, are having to pack away the bed and pack away her stuff, and she's about to go. It's a scene full of kind of subtext and it's just a beautiful scene. It's a very, very early scene written from improvisations I can remember from guys at Stantonbury Campus Youth Theatre. And I went home and used those improvisations as a starting point. It's a lovely, lovely scene. Really, really powerful scene. Then we've got Graham World's Fastest Blind Runner. And the scene there, this involves me. It's the scene right at the beginning of the play, which starts at the end of Graham's story, where he's left athletics. He's going on to be an amazing person. He hits a hole-in-one at golf. Remember, he's totally blind. And then he phones up with the grave news that he's got cancer in his leg and he has to have an amputation, and finally he passes away. And then there's a lovely story featuring my little boy Charlie, which I won't spoil for you, but and I know some of you know it, but it's a lovely scene, and it's got opportunities for a little bit of naturalism and for stylistic work as well. So a really interesting duologue there. Don't miss that one. That's a really good one. I am going to mention too much Punch for Judy. I've said I won't talk about the well-known ones, but this one was a real key one to involve, because it's a scene where they're talking about making a will. Jo, who is the sister who ends up being killed in the road accident, she's talking to Judy about making a will, but they're getting on with other action during it. They're doing decorating, and it's a scene that I always use to demonstrate to my BTEC students how to get action that is going on alongside a piece of duologue, but it isn't actually kind of it is reinforcing it, but it isn't the content, the same content. It's got a completely different narrative. So there's that. Okay, then we go to Chicken. The scene in Chicken with Tammy and her dad, and it's one when I went to see it very recently, and I loved seeing it with some Year Sixes in London. And when it came to the end, they out loud reacted when she says, "You're just jealous because you haven't got anyone, Dad." And it's one of those scenes. So if you want a scene that is really kind of crunchy, that's a great ending to that one. Legal Weapon, one of my very popular plays, but it's kind of got lost a little bit recently because it's not touring professionally. But this is a scene that I can remember writing with having two people with completely different intentions, and that's great for the actors. So one actor is coming in and saying, "I killed your best friend." The other actor is coming in and she knows she's got to say, "I've betrayed you, I'm having an affair with someone else, and I'm going to chuck you." And it's that clash and what happens. And then the kind of highlight of the scene is when the third person comes in, which in the duologue you don't see, which is the new boyfriend of the girl. But you've got these two opposing intentions that they have to kind of battle through. So that's a great one. Parents, or Do As I Say, it doesn't come from a play, it's a standalone scene, and it's one I used to use ever such a lot with my year 9s in school when I was a teacher. No one outside of my students will ever have seen it. It's a standalone scene, and it's one we used very successfully. The one, as I was doing the proofread, that I liked the most, without any doubt, was from the most absurd Promenade Christmas musical in the world ever. And it's just a lovely scene. My daughter played it in our production, and it's about the mum and dad wanting to disguise their daughter. They decide to disguise her as a cactus. That doesn't go down too well with her. There's some lovely absurd stuff there. I was really into absurdism and Monty Python and Ionesco. Kids will adore it, so please look at that one. That's an important one to look at. Kill Jill follows that, which is in a similar sort of absurd vein. Butcher Butcher Burning Bright used to be asking about. There's the scene which is the fight scene between the two boys at the very end after one of them has caused the fire. Great, adding that whole thing of action with words, so a very action-packed, nice, neat little scene. People will love doing, students will love doing that. Superhero comedy, the blockbuster from the 1970s in sequin suits and platform boots. A lovely bit of absurdism, a superhero character, a bit of big acting, lots of opportunity there. Again, I would say students will love that in the way that they'd love the most absurd Christmas musical. The first scene that I thought of when I knew I was going to do this book was a thing called Sibling Saviours. It's not a play, it's just a scene that I wrote on a drama course, and I've always remembered it. And it's a lovely little touching scene between a mum and a son, where the son has been born to save his sister, and it's come to the point where he's got to go and have an organ removed to give to his sister, and it's just the conversation that they're having as the suitcase is being packed. A poignant little scene. It's never been seen by even my students, but as soon as it said duologue, I thought, yeah, that's one we've got to use. Granny and the Wolf, lovely scene, which is a clash of generations and attitudes, where the young wolf comes in to tell his mum, well, whilst Dad's away, that he's having a relationship with a human being, and he knows it's not going to go down well, and it doesn't, and it all ends in tears. But it's a great scene with lots of other meanings that you can take on it. Silas Marner. This is going to be published soon by Salamander Street. And the scene where Silas discovers his gold has been stolen is fantastic because of the use of the narrator. Now in the play, it's lots of narrators, and they create the animation of the action of Silas's reaction. In this duologue, I've adapted it to become a duologue. The narrator stylistically is going to be running around and creating that atmosphere around Silas Marner. So really, really good. The final one I'm going to talk about, there are others in the book, relates to Mick Ronson, that my play This Is For You. It's a teenage pregnancy, unplanned teenage pregnancy story. And there's a huge twist in this story. And this is the scene where that twist is set up. I'm not going to say what it is, but this is a scene absolutely that teenagers will enjoy playing. It's two teenagers in the 1970s in the thick of the most awful situation they could be thrown into. So This Is For You. It's definitely well worth a look. So there's the two books, Act Normal and Can't Believe I'm Saying This to My Mum. And today I've been talking about that. salamanderstreet.com is where you can get the book. It's available now, so go order.